Hey everyone, and welcome back. Today we're going to be discussing the new episode of The Real Housewives of Orange County. That is season 17, episode 6. It starts where Gina, remember, had stormed out of the group because she was triggered by Jenn and her infidelity. So she left to go call her boyfriend Matt about it. So Heather goes after her. She hangs up the phone and says, "Don't talk to him about this. He's your boyfriend, not your therapist." And actually, I'm sorry, her boyfriend is Travis. Matt is her ex. I got that mixed up. She was calling Travis, and then that's where Heather went and she hanged up the call. And I do feel she exaggerated a little bit her reaction with Jenn, but I do think that her feelings of still struggling with her past relationships and those experiences are very real, but she needs to get those taken care of. She was crying, so I did feel bad for her, and Heather was actually being a good friend by listening and being there for her. But the women then dress up in their PJs because remember they're camping and they have some food. They had some nice steaks of meat. It looked really good actually. However, a few hours later, they ended up going back to the house. They didn't sleep in the tents like they had planned. And then it's the next morning and the women are waking up. Unfortunately, Jenn is not feeling the best. She calls her boyfriend and tells him that she's very disappointed in Tamra and how she has been treating her because she's supposed to be her friend. But they then continue with the activities for the day. Tamra, Taylor, and Jenn go off in their group and they go on a little boat and they're going around the water. At first it was slow, but then they started to go super fast and the water was all over them. And then Shannon, Gina, and Heather went to go fishing, but they were like standing up. They were like in the water. The boat was definitely more fun, but it was crazy. And yeah, these scenes were just very fun scenes of them having some fun. A little later, they are getting ready because that's the last night that they're spending there at Montana. They dress up super nice. They go down to the saloon again. They sit down to have dinner, and they're talking about their high points and low points of the trip. Shannon goes first and says that she is just very glad that she was able to reconnect with Tamra. It's making her really happy. And then Heather goes and says that she's feeling a little bit nostalgic to remember when she first came on the show and her experiences with Tamra and Shannon, specifically their friendship, and it always seemed like they were against her, and it hurt her. And today, earlier, Shannon and Tamra were in their room getting ready, just the both of them, and Heather was not there, and that sort of triggered her to feel left out like she did back in the other seasons from years ago. But both Shannon and Tamra are like, okay, but like that's not what we were doing it. Like it wasn't on purpose to exclude you. And she says, yeah, I know it's not something that you guys are doing. Like it's definitely one of my issues, one of my insecurities. And Shannon thinks that Heather is constantly wanting to be in a contest, competing with her to be better. And she might be right. So she tells Heather, like, really? That was your low point of this amazing trip and that's what you got out of it? And Shannon starts to cry because it means a lot to her to be able to rekindle her friendship with Tamra. So for Heather to be making it about herself and make it into something negative hurts her. So Heather is like, well, I'm sorry. I just felt like that. I think that when it comes to Heather, she's definitely jealous of this friendship. I think to a certain degree I understand it, but I don't think that it's fair. And then Taylor opens up and says that she is honestly very sorry to Heather for this whole movie debacle, and she looked very genuine, like she almost had like teary eyes. I think that she was really speaking from the heart. But instead of Heather just simply accepting the apology, she kind of like schooled her on like, don't you ever do this again. Not like that, but like that was the feeling of it. So I feel like she should have just accepted the apology, but eventually she sort of does. And then Jenn also shares her lows of the trip. Obviously she had some very low ones, and she says that it obviously made her feel bad that she triggered Gina. So then that makes Gina talk about her past relationships, and she starts to cry about the same thing that she was crying at the beginning of the episode. And just like in the beginning of the episode, Heather again says, don't do that in front of Travis, just like she did. And that causes Gina to snap at her. She says, "Don't tell me what Travis can handle or not." But in that moment, I do believe Heather was coming from a good place. I don't think it was a judgmental place at all. And then we move on to the women back home. This Montana trip was very fun. It was messy, but it wasn't a disaster, so I really enjoyed it. The first scene back at home is Tamra and Eddie going for a walk. They're going to also start working on some health supplements that they're going to sell, so that's pretty cool. But then she starts to talk about Jenn, and Tamra reveals to Eddie that someone told her that Ryan pointed at Tamra and said, "I want to F her." So Eddie says, "Oh, wow, well, someone did warn me to be aware because apparently he likes married women." And Tamra says, "Well, yeah, he's already cheated on Jenn." And she says that relationship reminds her of Vicki and Brooks. I do think there's a problem with this Ryan man. I do. But I think that the way Tamra is doing it is that she's kind of attacking Jenn, because she even calls her insecure or whatnot. So I don't think she's going at it the right way. But then next up, we see some of Emily, who we haven't really seen too much of. But she's with her daughter, who is now officially taking photos and like shoots and stuff because she wants to be a model. And they look like they were having a lot of fun. So that was cool. But let's move on to Jenn and Ryan. They're at their house, and Jenn tells them about this whole thing of, "Oh, I'm going to F her," that Tamra has been saying. And the husband says, like, "What?" It did look like he might have had a guilty face, though, but he was pretending that the comment was inaccurate. And apparently there is some girl named Heather. Not Heather Dubrow, but it's some other Heather that's a mutual friend between Tamra and Jenn, who is sort of in the middle of this. And she has been saying a lot of things, so Jenn is really upset at her. And they also talk about this D pic that allegedly he sent, and he seems appalled by it again. Jenn says, "Okay, but you know what? The person I'm the most mad at is Tamra. We are supposed to have a friendship after all." I think Jenn seems blinded by love. I'll just say that. And then the last scene is Gina and Travis. So they're talking, and she mentions, a little bit about what she was saying at the trip about her being upset about her past relationships or whatever. And then she starts to tell him that she's upset at Heather. But of course, she's doing it in a way to kind of, make her seem like the victim. So she's saying like, "Oh, well, Heather was so inconsiderate about this. And she was telling me that I shouldn't be saying all of my trauma to you. Do you think like that?" And he says, "No, of course not. That's what I'm here to do." I think he was lying because this is being filmed. And I said I think he's lying because I think most men or even women want to be a pillow for their partner, for them to just be like, dumping all of their baggage and all of their trauma. A partner doesn't want that. I'm sorry to say that, but I think he is definitely lying about that. And now Gina is making this sort of into Heather is being very rude. I think Gina just tries to squeeze the driest lemons that have no juice at all. She's a little bit too much. But next week, we're going to get some pretty cool stuff, and Tamra and Jenn are going to face off. So that's going to be interesting. But as of now, guys, please let me know what your comments, what you thought about this episode. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll catch y'all next time. You have a great one. Bye.